Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today is the 6th of January and I thought we'd try a very late start to the reading vlog for this month. Up until today my partner was here for a week and it was really lovely. We had a great start to the new year, but it also meant that I didn't do any reading. We were just doing a lot of other things. We went to Nuremberg, to a museum there, which was very interesting. It was like super random, like a historical museum. Like it had a ton of like prehistoric stuff, some Roman stuff, and like about the Germans at that time, but then also like furniture from the like 1800s, which I fell in love with. I will actually edit in some pictures of that, just so you know. But that museum was very, very interesting. And then we also met up with some people, we had a ton of amazing food, and it was just overall a great time. We also watched the first 2 seasons of Dark, because I always wanted to watch it. I had seen the first season when it came out, but then I never continued on because I knew I would have to rewatch the first season, and I remembered it being so confusing. So we always kind of put it off, but now this was the perfect time because we had a lot of time to just binge watch stuff. And so that's what we did, and we finished the first 2 seasons. So we have 1 left now, but the finale last night of the 2nd season was just so mind-blowing again. So I hope we will be able to watch the rest very soon. But yeah, it was so much fun to get into this series again, and I just think that, yeah, it's just one of the best TV shows out there. So that was really, really cool. But now on to the reading plans. I have actually started a book yesterday, but I'm only 18 pages in, and that is my reread of Pet by Akwaeke Emezi. I read this one for the first time last January, and so I got myself my own copy because I had it from the library, and I wanted to reread it and then also read Bitter, which is the prequel to this that came out last year. So this is my first reading plan for the year, and I hope I can finish Pet this weekend and then get into Bitter. And apart from that, I've also started an audiobook, but I'm not very far in yet. It's also a re-listen, so a book I listened to last year as well. And that one is Assassin's Apprentice by Hobb, because I have not continued on with the Farseer trilogy, and so that's my plan for now. I want to get to the rest of the Farseer trilogy, so I am re-listening to Assassin's Apprentice and then get to the next two books, and I'm very excited about that one as well. But since both of these are rereads, I think I will not update you a lot on them, because I did like videos about them before, and I don't want to repeat myself so much. So if you're interested in my thoughts on these, just about a year ago I did videos on these when I read them for the first time. But yeah, that's my plan for now, and I'll update you once I finish something. Good morning everyone, it is the 9th of January and today is the day I have to go back to work, so I'm not that excited to be honest, but it's alright, we all have to go back to work at some point, and today it is my day. So I quickly wanted to update you on my reading. Last night I finished reading Bitter by Akwaeke Emezi after finishing Pet the day before. Now Pet was a reread and I obviously gave it 5 stars again. I just absolutely love that book. For Bitter, this is a prequel following the mother of the main character in Pet, and so in this one we do not see the utopia, but we see how the utopia was started, kind of. And this book has also a lot of like darker themes. It's a lot about police brutality, protesting, civil unrest and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely look up content warnings for this book if you want to read it. It yeah, it's not light and fluffy, even though the cover might not portray that. So yeah, I really enjoyed Bitter as well. I had a couple more minor issues with it than I had with Pet, so I gave it 4.5 stars. I just feel like a little bit of the way that the romance was portrayed in here irked me. But yeah, this had a lot of messaging about, you know, protests and how everyone has to contribute in their own way. We can't all be on the front line of protests, and you know, also this theme of like trying, and that it doesn't always go the way you plan, but it is important that you try anyway. So yeah, a lot of like interesting concepts in here that are discussed, and just what I really like about this series is the way that the language that is used when the characters interact is very inclusive, very wholesome and uplifting, and I just wish we would all communicate more like this, apart from a couple of scenes, as I mentioned, that have to do with the romance. But apart from that, yeah, that's something I really enjoy about these books. So That's my first official new book I've read this year, and I'm very happy that it was such a success for me. So the next book I started now is Harlem Shuffle by Colson Whitehead. I have read 2 books by Colson Whitehead before, The Underground Railroad and The Nickel Boys, and both of those were 5 stars. But they're also heartbreaking books. So I hope this one will be a little bit different, because this is more like a heist story mystery kind of book. I don't really know what to expect. I'm only about maybe 15 pages in. But yeah, I'm very intrigued to read this, and I've had it on my wish list for a while, and then I found it in the library, so I really wanted to get to it this month. And yeah, this is my goal for this week, to finish this book. It has a little bit more pages than Pet and Bitter, and much smaller font, so it will probably take me a little while, but I'm still very excited to read this book, and I hope that even though it's not a heartbreaking book, that it will still be one of my favorites, so we'll see about that. And then I'm also about a third into my reread of Assassin's Apprentice. I'm now at a point of the story that I really enjoyed the first time around, so I'm excited about that. And yeah, it's just fun to reread this book, and I'm already very excited to go into the rest of the trilogy. So that's my reading for now. I'm gonna head to work, and I'll update you whenever something interesting happens. Happy Friday 13th, everyone! I'm back with a reading update. Last night I managed to finish the first part in Harlem Shuffle. This has 3 parts, so I'm now about a third of the way through. This first part is set in 1959, and we learn about a heist that took place and how our main character, Ray Carney, is involved in that. And then after the first part, we have a time jump of 2 years, so now it's 2 years later, and we follow this main character again. And yeah, at first I was a little bit put off by the time jump, as always, but I think after finishing the first chapter in this new part, I think I'm intrigued again, so we'll see. We definitely see that our main character has quite a bit of character development, but not only in a good way between these 2 parts. And I'm just really intrigued to see where this goes, because I've also seen on Goodreads that this is the first book in a series now, so there will be a sequel. I'm very intrigued still, and I think that the writing is excellent. I do love Colson Whitehead's writing, and I think the characters are very interesting. There is a heavy use of the N-word in here, so if you don't enjoy that, just be warned. It is used quite a bit in here, and some of the characters turn quite violent in their language very quickly, which is also interesting. But this has some commentary on class, on colorism, and as I said, it is kind of a heist story, so we'll probably see what happens now with our main character, who is treading quite the fine line between being a crook and a normal law-abiding person. So we'll see. But yeah, I am enjoying my time with that. Even though it is slow going, I read a little bit every night, and that is very satisfying to me. I'm also more than halfway through Assassin's Apprentice right now. I'm in that little bit that I really don't enjoy about the book, but it's not because it's bad, it's just because what happens to our main character is really quite horrible, and I want it to be over. So I'll probably get through this part later today, so that's fine, and then we're back to the more interesting stuff. But I'm really enjoying this reread, and I'm glad I'm doing it, even though it hasn't been a year since I've read this book first. I still feel like I forgot a lot of the details and the hints on the wider story that that are dropped. So I'm really glad I decided to reread this one first and then go into the sequel, and I'm already excited to do that. So yeah, reading is going quite well. My life is more of a bumpy road right now, but that's fine. I did get my back fixed this week, and that was lovely. So right now I'm very happy that I see some progress with my back pain and I can work out again more, because before I always had the problem that whenever I would start working out I would get a migraine, and so I thought I just go to someone who knows about these things, see whether they can fix up my back so I can really start working out again. And so far, fingers crossed, it's working out very well, so that's awesome as well. But obviously the workout time takes a little bit away from reading. That's just how it happens. But yeah, that's what's going on right now. I really have to leave for work. The weather is terrible, so I will talk to you whenever something interesting happens. So today is the 16th of January, and I think today is gonna be the last day of this vlog. Last night I managed to at least finish the second part in Harlem Shuffle, and even though I did enjoy this second part, I have no idea how I feel about this book, and I also have no idea where this book is actually going, because now we have another time jump, and I think it is another like 3 years or something like that. So yeah, it's just very interesting to see and to guess kind of what this is doing. Like, are we following our character of Carney just down the way into more crookedness, or what's going on here? In the second part we have a more of a heist revenge story, so our main character is putting together a plan how to take revenge on someone who has wronged him. And yeah, that's basically what happens. So I'm very intrigued to see where this third part goes now, because as I said, it's like quite difficult to see a connection between part 1 and part 2, except that we follow the main character, and in part 1 he's not really that involved in the crooked world, but slowly gets sucked in, and in this second part now we follow him as he moves deeper into the crooked world on his own volition. So yeah, it's just interesting. Another thing I find very interesting about this read is that there's a lot of words used in here that is also in the Diviner series, but these are set about 30 years apart, so I think it's kind of intriguing that these words pop up. So yeah, I'm almost like interested in researching them more, because they're words that I haven't really seen before, but it seems like during that time period in New York there were quite a few terms that were used that are not in use anymore, I think. So that's kind of fun as well. Another intriguing thing that the second part talked about is something, I forgot the word, but it's basically kind of like a sleeping schedule that supposedly was very common before like the modern world and the invention of lights. And he talks about this and he practices this, where he goes to bed like super early, like as soon as it gets dark outside, and then he gets up in the middle of the night to do stuff and then goes back to sleep. And I also thought that was quite interesting, and I definitely want to investigate that a little bit more as well, because yeah, I had never heard about that either. So I think that Colson Whitehead is just such a knowledgeable person, because yeah, you always learn stuff from his books. And same with like the way that Central Park in New York was built in a place where there had been kind of a settlement of black people and stuff like that. I had never heard of that before. So yeah, I just feel like I learned a lot about New York and other things while reading this, but story-wise I'm still a bit confused as to where this is headed. And then I have less than 3 hours left in my audiobook, Assassin's Apprentice. I don't think I will finish it today because I have to work quite a lot, but we'll see. I will definitely start the second book in the four-seer trilogy in my next vlog, so I'm very excited about that one. And my reread is going super well. I just love it so much, and I already can't wait to get further into this world. So here we are again, and I'm closing off this vlog. I did not read any more in Harlem Shuffle last night, just because I had a really bad day and I wasn't in the mood. But I finished my audiobook Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. I gave this one 4.5 stars when I read it the first time last year, and I think I will keep that rating. But just know that this is a book that I absolutely adore, and really the only criticism I have is that we have quite the lack of female characters for now. We do have some, but they don't play the biggest roles. For example, there is a female weapons trainer, and she is the teacher of Fitz that we see of the least, and we only ever see him with his male teachers. So yeah, I think that could have been done a little bit better, but also this book was written in the 90s, so what do you even expect? But yeah, I really love it. I love the ending. I think it is so fantastic, just so yeah, everything, like so much intrigue, so much action. You really fear for all of the characters. And I remember when I listened to it for the first time, I like literally couldn't stop. Like usually I listen to my audiobook on my way home, but then when I get home I turn it off. But that day I just listened to the rest of the audiobook, just pacing around my living room because I had to know how it all ends. So yeah, it's just a wonderful book, and I'm very intrigued to now read on with the series. So in my next vlog that will be up in a couple of weeks, I will tell you all about listening to Royal Assassin. I will also finish off Harlem Shuffle, and the next book I want to start is actually Priory of the Orange Tree. So that will probably take up the rest of my month together with Royal Assassin, because that audiobook is also 29 hours. So I don't think that I will do much more other reading. But yeah, if you're interested to hear my thoughts, please come back to see the next vlog. I hope you enjoyed this one. Leave a like or a nice comment. I always appreciate those. And if you subscribe, I will talk to you very soon. Bye!